Welcome to Vet Talk with Hill. As you know, this is a show we created to sit there with military veterans to talk about their life before the service, during the service, and after the service. I'm your host, Hill Pluvios, United States Marine Corps veteran. And today I have with me a Navy veteran, Veronica Mammina. Veronica, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So Navy, thank you for having me. So Navy, how you doing?
Doing well. Can't complain.
When you get out the Navy?
August of 2018.
So it's been 2 years.
Right.
Are you from New York originally?
Yes, I'm from New York City. Born in Brooklyn and raised in Queens.
Wow, you know Queens is the best borough, right?
Yes, Queens is the best borough.
So walk me through the process of like joining the Navy from Queens. At what age? Tell me what your life was like before you get to that point. Who did you grow up with?
So I grew up with both my parents in Ozone Park, Queens. I was born in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, as you already know, and have two sisters. And we grew up. In my teenage years, we moved over to Forest Hills, where I went to high school, Forest Hills High School. After that, I went to BMCC Community College for a couple of semesters. I was actually exploring my different opportunities, what I wanted to do, what path I wanted to take. So I actually had a friend from my softball team joining the Air Force. I thought it was pretty cool, just kind of looking into it. Took the ASVAB for the Air Force, and then actually went back to the recruiter's office, and he was MIA. I was kind of waiting around on him. A Navy guy came up to me, and he asked me about my situation. I told him I took the ASVAB for this particular job in the Air Force, and then he actually told me about a way better job in the Navy, which is actually encapsulates a lot more than what I was actually looking to do, which was photography. Okay. So I joined the Navy solely based on the fact of the scope of the job of a mass communication specialist. So, yeah.
What did your parents think about you joining the Air Force? Because I know it can sometimes be difficult. You tell your parents, "Hey, I'm joining the military."
Right. So,
automatically, war comes to mind. So what was their conversation like?
Yeah. So like I said, I only went to a couple semesters of college in community college, and I was in the DEP program. I joined the Navy right after high school, and that's something I knew I wanted to do. I didn't really talk to my parents too much about it. It's something I wanted to do, and I did it. And my father was actually initially happy about it. My mother wasn't so into it. It wasn't something that she kind of wanted me to do, but I think my father had a good outlook, more of a positive outlook for me, because I feel like we both kind of knew that maybe I could use the discipline, so it was kind of like a risk that a lot more people in my family wanted to do at the time. Right. Or maybe when they were my age, and they might have explored those options as well, and they didn't, so in a way I feel like some of the people of whose opinions I really cared about were at a point in their life where they too thought about joining the military, so they were kind of vicariously living through me. Nice.
And when you say your father said maybe you can use that discipline, that kind of made me think maybe you weren't what kind of discipline? Why do you feel you needed the discipline?
I mean, I was a little bit all over the place as a teenager. I've been through a lot, and just kind of sometimes hanging with the wrong crowd, sometimes not. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I was more into hanging out with my friends than focusing on school. Like your regular teenager, cutting school, lying to your parents and whatnot. So
was the discipline in terms of maybe if you'll learn to take responsibilities a bit better?
I think just learning personal accountability was the biggest thing. Yeah. I probably didn't know that I needed at the time, and I just wanted to explore something new and take a risk, because that's just kind of who I am in a way. I like to take risks and try new things and seek out new opportunities that nobody really knows about or is doing. It's just was a very interesting and wild thing.
What's your parents' background? What are they? Where are they? American?
So my mom is first generation Dominican, and my father is third generation Italian. So he's been living in Brooklyn with his mother and family, for 3 generations now. So yeah, father's a New Yorker, mother's moved here when she was a teenager from Dominican Republic, and eventually became a citizen, and yeah, she's also a New Yorker now.
Yeah, I ask because a lot of times, parents who come from another country, a lot of times they can look at the military as a way that can benefit the kid, even though a lot of times they can get scared. So that's why I ask that. But also, you are her girl, and I don't want my daughter like picking up and leaving me for a little bit, where the father was probably like, well, maybe she needs to, not get in trouble and have, waking me up late at night to go. Hopefully you didn't get to that point, kind of.
Right. Well, he saw like how much actual effort and like research I was doing into it, because I had to kind of not only prove to like myself that this was a good decision for me at the time. I was 18 turning 19, like I knew that I wanted to do something awesome, and like it's going to help me long term, but I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do in college, nor did I have enough money for school at the time. So being able to eventually get a full ride in college was definitely something that I thought about. But I've always wanted to serve my country. It's something I always wanted to do. I've always looked up to service members. I have maybe one other person in my family that was in the military, and he was in the Korean War. He's in his 90s now, my Uncle Louis. So, and I've just always admired those stories he told. So it was, it's weird how like some of your relatives might have a larger impact on your life when you talk about like some of the decisions you make later.
Yeah. So you took the test you took the ASVAB for the Air Force. You show up, the Air Force recruiter was in there. The Navy came in. Did he have to sell you a dream or anything, or he just
Not
was
really.
just like,
He was
hey,
just
I can
talking to me. He was just talking, just asking regular questions that he would ask any other graduating senior from high school.
Yeah. So how long did it take you from the time that you spoke to that recruiter to stepping foot in boot camp?
It took So it took a couple months in order for me to transfer over the ASVAB scores from the Air Force recruiter to the Navy. And then I was really adamant about the job I wanted. It wasn't available at the time, so I kept trying and trying. I kept waiting and waiting, and then the recruiter eventually was like, all right, the job is going to be available, but you're not going to be able to ship out for 8 months, 7 or 8 months. So, he didn't want to do that because he thought, oh, that's too long for a teenager. They're going to change their mind. Teenagers are going to change their mind. Yeah. So I can see why he was resistant. And, my mother was also trying to learn about this. She's like, let me go in there. Let me talk to him and see if he can give you this job, because this is a great job for you. This is what you want to do. Yeah. So it's funny, like my mom came and she was like, like in a way, like kind of helping me to get what I want, even though she didn't really want me to
do it. I mean, that's the best way to do it. Even if I don't want you to do it, as my daughter, I'm going to make sure you get everything
right.
that,
I know. It's crazy how like parenting is crazy like that. It's like, I don't want nobody telling my daughter no, but even though I don't want her to do this, I'm going to still stand behind her. Right. So, I'm thankful for that, and I'm grateful that my parents were so supportive in those ways.
Shout out to your mom for that.
Yeah.
You're in boot camp now. Was it like what you expected? Walk me through the process. The first day you stepped foot in boot camp, because I didn't do Navy boot camp, and I know you have several places where you can do your boot camp.
So Great Lakes, Illinois is where boot camp is now. It used to be in somewhere else. I forgot actually, but so I actually joined the Navy on Valentine's Day. They called us the Heartbreakers when we got off the bus, and we had like one phone call to make. So I think I just called my mom. I was like, hey, I'm here, like, it's starting. So I don't know when I'm going to call you again. So yeah, and she was like, all right, muñeca, and I was like, okay. So then, we went through boot camp. It was definitely a lot, kind of easier than I thought it would be. I watched a lot of YouTube videos beforehand, like how to make a bun and how to do this and that. What do women have to do? At the time, women had to cut their hair, chin length. So I was like, well, I'm going to cut my hair, chin length, I guess. Whatever, the job's more important. So, and just, what I wanted to serve my country for was like more important, obviously, too. But so yeah, I mean, went to boot camp, and you know, we didn't even earn our uniforms just yet. We were wearing like PT gear for the first couple weeks, and you know, they call those the Smurfs. So yeah, you get your shots. You know, I saw a really funny meme about the coronavirus.
Yeah.
It was just like the coronavirus was like, whoa, like when and it enters a veteran's body, it's just like,
I don't want to be
nah,
here. You got way too many shots.
What is going on in this body? Yeah, there's all sorts of vaccines up in here. I'm gonna send you the meme. It's really funny.
Yeah, send it to me.
And yeah, so
my
really
shots
good.
record in the military. You know how you get? Did you get the yellow one too?
Like yellow fever?
No, the yellow shots record. It's like a yellow booklet.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
you fold it like a whole bunch of times and you drop it. Mine was like 2 feet long in the Marine Corps, like 2 feet long. So we've gotten like, we got every shot that you could think of. Before, did you deploy at all?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you deploy?
Had to get more shots.
Yeah. So before we get to that, so now you're in boot camp. What's going on in boot camp? Do you guys drill or what goes on in boot camp? Do you learn to shoot? Things like that.
So the first couple days, you sit in a room, and you're kind of like, you're weeded out based on your interests and strengths. So in RDC, you're like a recruit division officer will come inside of a room with all these new recruits, still in their civvies, but stripped of all their belongings, and ask who here like plays instruments or is interested in any sort of like singing, choir, marching band thing.
What?
Yeah, because there's special divisions in Great Lakes, Illinois, with boot camp where they have people who are performers at boot camp at graduation, right?
Yeah.
So boot camp is like a machine. It's like you come in. It's like there's a very specific standard as to the way everything is supposed to go. You're supposed to go through your shots, medical stuff. You go through this, and that. And then, you know, you can get assigned to a random division, which is a non-performer division.
Yeah.
Not to say that boot camp is actually like revolved around that, but
That's one of the things that happens in boot camp.
It's one of the things that happens in the end.
Yeah.
And if they can find these creative people, you know, so that they don't have to, I guess,
go out and look for them elsewhere or
Right.
maybe hire civilians to come
yeah,
do these.
and basically, you can get assigned to a 900 division. That's what they call them. It's a 900 division.
That's the art department.
These are like these are basically, so during your training period, you'll have one day out of the week where you go and you practice for that graduation for performers. So like you can, most of the time these would be people who sing, or volunteer to sing. And then they have people who like, you know, play instruments or like, most of the time it's just singing and like marching, you know, with like the rifles and stuff.
Yeah. So how long?
I actually volunteered for that. I was like, I sang.
Yeah?
Because I was like, if I can have one less day where I can not be like running or doing push-ups or whatever, I'm just gonna do it.
Wow. Do you guys drill and do all that good stuff in boot camp or no? Like,
absolutely. We work out, we do everything. Yeah, we do all that.
Because as a Marine, you're telling me this, and I'm like, what? This is like heaven.
They might have asked you, you just don't remember. You probably wanted to keep your mouth shut.
Nah, they got the guys that already signed up who were supposed to be in the Marine Corps band, and they got to be really, really, and that's it. What instrument do you play? And that's it. Everybody else, we're like, when we got to boot camp in the Marine Corps, the fantasy of saying, hey, I have this MOS was out the window. You're a grunt first. You're here to be trained to be a warrior. After that, you get to go to your MOS, but you'll always be a warrior first. So listening to you speak about the Navy, it's kind of like different for me. It's kind of like a new experience, so, which is super interesting. That's why I think it's important for me to sit down and talk with veterans to know what it's like for them. Because I can't speak for the whole veterans community or for every branch. I know for the Marine Corps. So now you're in boot camp for how many months?
It's 8 weeks. It's 2 months.
2 months of boot camp. And during that 2 months, you have to take a physical test.
Right.
And what is that? And do you have to learn how to shoot weapons at all?
So we do have all sorts of weapons trainings. You know, I was in a 900 division, so 922. I actually do remember. And so yeah, like I said, one day out of the week, we go and we practice our skills, whether it be singing, whatever, marching with the rifles. But all those other days of the week, yes, we go through weapon training, right? first use the airsoft guns to shoot, and then we, go to the real thing eventually. We work out every day. You take military training where they basically explain to you the different branches of the military, where the Navy sits in the space of the Department of the Defense.
Where does the Navy sit?
So the Navy is basically they're the guardians of our ocean. The Navy, the ocean. I would say the Navy is securing about 75% of our oceans right now, of just deployed service members all over the world, just guarding our pathways of where we distribute and send goods to other nations.
You know what they taught us in the Marine Corps?
What?
That's not true at all. The Navy is there, and the Marine Corps go and protect the Navy. I'm teasing you. Okay. I'm messing with you. I'm joking.
You're not wrong.
I'm not wrong, but I'm not here to tease you about that. I'm just here to learn about the Navy. So, how about the Coast Guard? Like, you guys worked with the Coast Guard? Because I know a lot of times, I've never been on a MEU. A MEU is when you go on a ship with the Navy, and so I've never been on one, so I don't know what that's like. Have you been on one?
On like a Coast Guard ship?
Oh, whatever.
On a ship?
Yeah, like to be, how the guys just stay in the ocean for a certain amount of time.
Okay, so right after boot camp, I went to learn my job at A school, right, Fort Meade.
Where is that?
Fort Meade, Maryland, Defense Information School. It's basically the mecca of media training in the military. This is where even officers go. Every single branch, it's all there. That's the hub.
Nice.
So, and then after that, I got stationed.
Wait, media training. We're not gonna just skip that. What do you mean media training? Like what media is like so much.
Right, so the name of the school is Defense Information School. So how do we defend our information, right? How do we just talk about that? So I went there and I learned how to basically become a mass communication specialist, which is a job merged from what older Navy veterans might know as photographer's mate, draftsman, journalist, and
camera operators.
No. And what was the other one? Journalist, photographer, draftsman, and lithographer. They've merged those 4 ratings into mass communication specialist in 2007. Yeah. I joined in 2012, so it was still relatively new. And if you think about it, why not do that? Because if they're all training at the same place, maybe we can get more people to join and more people to get out to the fleet quicker. So it made sense, strategically. But that's where I learned how to, first off, public affairs and journalism. Then you go into photography. Then you go into video. Then you go into multimedia, where you're incorporating all these different aspects of media into telling a story in a video. Nice. Incorporating everything that you've learned. And then you go to the capstone project at the end, a field training exercise, and you're tested on your skills.
And when you get out to the fleet, obviously, this is your job. This is what you had to do every day that you wake up. You're 9 to 5. That's what you do. Where were you stationed?
So my first duty station was USS Boxer in San Diego, an amphibious assault ship. In
California?
Yes.
I like San Diego. I was doing some electronic warfare training there, and the EOD school is in 29 Palms.
Yes.
So while I was there training with them for a weekend, I drove down to San Diego just to see what it's like. And Cali is pretty cool. But and I went to, when I was doing CACs, I forgot what CAC stands for, but it's like before you deploy as Marines, that's where you do a lot of combat training, where you throw grenades and be on convoys and shoot at popping targets and so on. We were out in California for that too, and I think that was 29 Palms. Then we moved to an old Air Force base called Matilda, and we did some training there. So San Diego was pretty nice. What's San Diego like for you?
For somebody who never left the East Coast, I went on vacation a couple times to Dominican Republic and seen family, but I never went to California, and it was amazing. Just to experience summer without humidity is something that a New Yorker does not know or ever heard of or knew that was possible. So I had a great time out there. I met a lot of amazing people, not just in the military, but also even outside the military through just mutual friends who had family in the area, and just people were just awesome and super laid back. It's definitely the stereotype. Yeah. One thing that was new to me was having to drive everywhere. I
coming from New York,
I bought a bike. I was I could just bike everywhere. I'm from New York. Come on, I take the trolley, but no. First of all, the trolley is definitely not 275. It's more than that.
Yeah.
Riding my bike, you're going to be going up and down hills, and you're going to be riding like at least 8 miles to any destination. So I was like, yeah, this is not going to work for me. It's way too much cardio.
Talk to me about the workplace, the work environment, in uniform, in the military, and because I take it that the military was your first job, right? So what's
No, actually, I was working in high school too at CVS,
Oh,
and I worked. Yeah, I've been working since I was 16. I got my
Nice.
working papers.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, but now you're in the military now,
Right,
working, and what's the work environment like? You get up, you wake up, you do your. What's it like?
Yeah, so when you first get assigned to a ship, you have to go through, a little bit of training and initiation. It's nothing bad. It's just firefighter training, because in the Navy we're sailors first, but in case things hit the fan, we are firefighters first and foremost. Got to protect the ship. There's a ship. If the ship goes down, everybody goes down. So you got to go to firefighting school, learn how to classify different fires, and you actually like kind of become like a firefighter. And then you get to know your division and department that you belong to, and kind of where the department sits in the whole like realm of what the mission of the ship is. So we are the eyes and ears of the Navy, just by motto and nature of our job. So getting stationed to a ship as ship's company, as opposed to just getting assigned as like a Renton MC from like a different command, because you can just get assigned to a ship for a deployment and just cover their immediate needs. Yeah. Or you can get assigned to a ship and do your 3-year stint there. Not stint, like you do your 3-year time there. And then rotation. And then, you can be part of the whole process of a ship, like whether it's deploying or whether it's going through a maintenance period, or whether it's getting in, going through the certification process to deploy.
And what do you say was?
So yeah, I was ship's company, so I had to learn about all that stuff. So I got there at a time when the ship was in the yards. They had just come back from a deployment, right? This was the Captain Phillips deployment they just got back from. That was the ship.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I had already that knowledge getting there. I got to know my leading petty officers, right, my LPOs, 2 MC1s at the time. And, they explained to me everything, got me a mentor, sponsor, somebody to help me with my certifications. You have automatically a list of booklets. You got to get certified and everything. Yeah. You got to do maintenance. You got to do damage control training. You got to do everything that the ship needs you to do as a ship's company. And
you were out in San Diego for your whole deployment, your whole enlistment?
No, I actually was also stationed in Fort Meade. I was at Defense Media Activity, which is basically works with Armed Forces Network, which is like the Deployed Forces Network. Yeah. After 6 to 8 months, there was a manning crisis right across the street at none other than DINFOS, and that's where I actually ended up being rerouted to teach. So I ended up teaching there.
Oh wow! How many years did you? How many enlistments? One enlistment and.
So I re-enlisted before all this happened.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, and then, that's a lot.
Because I didn't think I was ready to teach, and I had a little bit of an issue with it. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous about it, but this is what the Navy needed me to do, and one of my life's purposes is to leave a positive impact on people, and this is a great way to do it. So, I was voluntold in a way to do it. So, this would be a great opportunity for you. Maybe you should do this. And when it's an E9 telling you this.
It's crazy. You get the pep talk from the recruiters all the way, even while you're in. Because even same with me before I got out. I forgot his name. I was getting out and I had my, how you rotate from one battalion or one company or wherever they need you in the Marine Corps. That's where you go. And after I left Japan, I was over in Lejeune. I had one deployment, came back, and now I'm getting ready to get out. And my lieutenant, who I was working for at my shop, was pulled to go to a detachment to form his own battalion or company or whatever, or maybe his company to attach to a battalion to deploy. And, you know, he gets to pick out the people that he wants with him, and he knew I was short. So he called me and said, hey, would you, you know, extend so you could go to war with me and, you know, we'll push to get you promoted. But during that time, I was ready to get out. My time was done. Luckily, I had a job waiting for me to go back overseas and kind of thing. I told him, sir, I would love to, but, you know, I got that same pep talk, you know. When they identify somebody that they feel can benefit their mission, it's their job to reach out and make it happen. So still in San Diego, now you're teaching, and the whole time you're just...
Yeah, so, you know, picture kind of 23-year-old Veronica, like, now I'm going to be a teacher. You know, I just kind of like joined the Navy so I don't have to be in school right now. You know, I was trying to learn a skill, get experience in my passions of, you know, and being a storyteller.
That's one of the good things I feel about the military, because a lot of times you feel like certain things you can't do, but they push you to do it. Like you said, you're 23. You're 23 in the civilian world. You don't think of yourself as like somebody who's teaching other people who are sometimes older, sometimes around your age, and maybe slightly younger than you. Because a lot of times you're like, these are the things that you have to do. And I think had it not been for the military, you probably wouldn't do that. And, you know, I hate to keep talking about myself, but the more you talk about these things, I'm thinking about all the things that we had to do in the Marine Corps. Because a lot of times they'll force you to give like a hip pocket class, or you'll learn something. If it's like a new piece of equipment that comes out or new training that we're doing, you'll learn it, and now you got to teach it to other people so they don't have the same teachers running around and doing it. It's like, okay, we'll pull people from different platoons and have them go back and teach it to the platoon, which kind of help build confidence and stuff like that, like public speaking and so on.
Right, like, and a little bit before that, I had just recently put on E5. You know, I started as an E1, right? Nice. You know, even though I had a little bit of college, like I said earlier, wasn't enough to cut it for E2 or E3.
Yeah, because so, what is it for the Navy to get an E1? You need
at least
12 credits, right?
Something, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the rules were, but I knew that at the time I didn't have enough. Yeah. So, you know, like, had just put on E5, you know, like, I actually made rank like just before getting stationed there, so I had a little bit of experience leading sailors and sort of, you know, like problem solving with like just like prepared, but I knew that this was not going to be easy, and you know, that they needed me in ways that, you know, they knew that I would be able to serve the school, so I was like excited about that. So I actually went through the whole teaching process, learned you got to get certified. You can't just, you can get sent there, you can fail, and they'll send you to another command. Yeah, you know, they'll send you to another command that needs you for something else. So
that's you say that I remember in the Marine Corps there was a time right when I got back from Iraq, there was a time where they were short on military police. And that's one of the things they snatched me up for. I was a corporal at the time. They snatched me up and made me a police officer. So I had to go through all the military training at the Marshal, simply because we had a lot of military police guys deploying. So you have field police and you have garrison police, so the people who go around and police the base and make sure nothing crazy is going on base. So a lot of the garrison police officers had to leave for deployment. So they figured, hey, why don't we just grab Marines and, you know, teach them the, you know, stuff that military police go through, like the deadly force. And obviously we already know how to operate we're already trained with a rifle, so we had to go to pistol training now, give you a 9mm kind of thing, teach you the ropes. So that's another way that they save money, but also you get to like learn new things that you didn't, you know, because during that time when I was getting out, you think of like jobs that you want to do, and a lot of times for Marines, it's easier to become a police officer. So that's one thing I looked into. So I was like, yeah, I'm more than happy to do this. But then, like I told you, I had a job waiting for me, so I did that. So now you're in your second enlistment.
Right.
What's happening in your second enlistment?
So this is, when I'm basically continuing to teach and also start to think about what I want to do, whether I want to stay in or get out. You know, I was already hitting like 5 to 6 years. You know, I actually re-enlisted at 3 years for 3 years. So I had signed a 5-year contract, which is basically a 4-year contract plus a voluntary year due to the 6-month training that I go in. So they want to make sure they get
it back. Yes.
Yeah. So, but you know, you can actually whenever you feel like you know that you want to stay in longer, you can actually re-enlist as early as 36 months.
Oh, wow.
You just have to have it at least 36 months, like in the Navy. So I actually re-enlisted.
And obviously good conduct and all
Right.
that good stuff, because you have to put a package
Yeah, and
together.
it's good for people who know that they want to do maybe one more year, because for me, I knew that I didn't want to do like 20 years. I knew that I wanted to do like some years and do some other stuff outside of the military. So I knew I wanted to do maybe 6 or 7 years. So I actually was thinking about that after 3.5 years in, and I re-enlisted for 3 years. So then I actually got out. Like I did like maybe 6 years and 10 months in total. But yeah, so I'd say like a year out of, teaching, I started thinking about, my next like phase, and I was doing really well as an instructor. I was teaching the multimedia portion, which is where you encompass everything that you learned into a multimedia like project.
Yeah.
And I was also I was also co-leading the capstone project at the end,
What's
like
that?
the final test
Oh, nice.
of basically for the students.
Yeah.
So they had to take the final test. You pass this, then you get to go to your first command.
And now with all that skill, is that something you've taken back into the civilian world with you? Is that what you do now for a living?
Right.
Like
So
you work in the field of media?
Right. So because I knew early on this was my passion, storytelling. Like I knew that I wanted to incorporate this into outside. So I started thinking about jobs, like what do I want to do, and I knew that I want to be like a video editor or shooter of some sort, because like I'm studying film also.
Are you
like,
studying film now?
Well, I just graduated in May.
From where?
Fordham.
Nice, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what I got my first degree in.
Yeah,
film
that's my
production.
first degree too.
Nice,
So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was great. The military transferred a lot of credits over to that degree.
A
A lot of my training transferred over. So
I imagine you got a lot left on your GI Bill.
I have like a year.
Yeah.
Have a year. So I might be able to do my master's degree if I ever feel like it's needed at some point. Right now, I'm not going to go back to school yet.
So now that where do you work now? Did you take any of that skill that you learned from the military to the civilian world with you? Where do you work now?
Definitely. So I've been working on my own projects. I'm unemployed right now since I graduated in May. I just came off of full-time school and my internship. So,
And now with COVID, I can imagine it's
Yeah.
extremely hard to get a job.
It is definitely not easy because you can't go to, and network in-person events or like career fairs and things like that. But they're all online now, which is a lot different. I wouldn't say it's impossible to network because I've met a lot of great individuals that have given me their time through Zoom.
People meet through people in the community of veterans, because I met you through another veteran, yeah, kind of thing. And do you feel like it's obviously you only been out for 2 years, so I don't think it's fair to ask you if you think it's a hard process for veterans to be hired or to get jobs. How do you think,
I would say it really depends on you. I mean, if you think it's going to be hard, then it's going to be hard. But if you can really just put yourself out there and keep doing interviews, just to do, like, not just to do them, but find your top, find your top 3 greatest hits in your life, not just the military.
But I kind of feel it's probably a bit different from you, because exactly the field that you're looking to go into now is what you were doing in the military, as opposed to those who were, let's say they were a mechanic or airplane mechanic and they want to go into media, or now they have to be retrained and do all this thing. So I kind of feel like it can be a little bit difficult. So I think if they were to stay in the field of avionics or aviation, they would, it'd be easier, because those years of experience will carry over. So a person who's looking to hire will be like, oh yeah, you've done this, and as opposed to somebody starting
Right. I think like if just like the digitization of like our world, if it hadn't like evolved so much, I think a lot of veterans might need to realize that, we have to really try to multitask and really try to make room for that end goal that you want to do. Just because you're in school for full time in their eyes doesn't mean that's full time in your eyes. Because I know when I was doing full time school, I was busy, but I knew I had to make time to hopefully get an internship or do something that is going to help me. Even if, let's say, this media thing doesn't work, like, what am I going to do? So now I'm actually looking into the mortgage industry and the finance tech industry and seeing how other areas of society, looking for the gaps. You really got to look for the gaps and
to see what works.
Yeah, and it's really applicable, I think, to any career. You just got to find the gap, fill in the gap with your skills and values and your experience, and it's gonna pay because that if it's something you believe in and you're passionate about, it's gonna sell.
So why do you think they say a lot of veterans are unemployed now? What do you think their problem is?
I mean, I think the problem is really complex because we're all going through a lot. Not only is it mental health, not only is it just us getting used to not waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day. It took me a year and a half to not like jump out of bed in the morning when I hear my alarm. So like, not only is it that, but I feel like veterans, in a way we're weirdly like groomed for crisis. We're groomed for disaster, and I feel like maybe veterans might be handling this a lot better than they had initially thought, because look at how we're still here today. We're still here trying. We're relentless. Like, we don't give up. So.
And do you think? I know you say we don't give up. Do you think that's part of the reason that maybe a lot of us can be dealing with depression? Because, like you said, we're used to waking up at 4:30. We're used to like getting it done. We're used to rolling up our sleeves to get it done, and now when you go knock on the employer, or when you go work a regular 9 to 5, and it's not the same environment, or you go knock on a door for a job and you're rejected, and do you think maybe we also are having a trouble accepting the rejection? Like, and maybe also what I think from talking with other veterans is that a lot of times employees will praise us in the media. Oh, we support our troops, we do this, we do that, but when we go and try to apply for a job, we'll come in with 4 years of experience from the military and a college degree, right? So that'll give you, let's say, 8 years. Let's say that, right? But then you're being interviewed by somebody who just who's been out of college for maybe 2 years, doesn't really have those 4 years of experience, and they're rejecting you. They're the ones telling you you're not good enough because they don't understand what you bring to the table. And what I realized from a lot of veterans, a lot of times that can be depressing. It can be like, I'm really worth nothing, but you have these guys, these companies saying, we support our troops, we stand behind our troops, but in reality, you're hiring somebody who's not even, we can get the job done, but the person who can't necessarily get it done is rejecting us. And I'll tell you a story, and again, I'll keep making these, I'm not making this about me, but the fact that we're talking and you're saying all these things, I'm thinking in my head.
Yeah.
I remember back when I got out the military, I got lucky. I got a job with the Department of Defense, working, making good money, going all around the world. They've been in charge of like billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of equipment, people's lives, making decisions that like save convoys, making big decisions. Then I come back to the States, and now I have to start all over. I know that I have to go to college and finish my degree just so I can be seen. So I would do a lot of these low-end jobs, and a lot of times the people who are on top of me are making decisions that are like extremely dangerous because they're not experienced. And I can't tell them, no, we can't do this because something bad will happen. But they're a lot younger, a lot less experienced, are forcing you to do these things. And you're like, yo, and an example I have, I won't give too much detail so they don't know what I'm talking about. I was working on a commercial, right? I was still in college working on a commercial as a PA. You have to get your hands dirty, do the gig. A person who I'm a lot older than is asking me to go. We were outside of New York City, and I'm driving down with equipment, cameras, a lot of expensive stuff in the back of the truck. So in my head, I already know if I'm going down the hill and it's a gravel on the floor, and you've been to Iraq, you've been to Afghanistan, you understand these gravels. And if I'm going this way, or the shift, or the weight is going to be down here. So now in order for me to reverse, it's going to be hard. So what I need to do is go all the way down just to make a U-turn. And all the gear, the people were setting up a lot of equipment, lights, generators. You know how commercials work, right? So I'm sitting here telling this person, like, let me just go and turn back around so I don't get stuck on the gravel and bring attention to ourselves. And we're working with another company. We don't want to make our company look bad. So the person's like, no, you do what I said, this and that. So in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to, do what you said. Sure enough, I go and try to get back. It's on gravel, and we're on a four-wheel, not a forward drive. So I'm stuck. So now the gravel's kicking up. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, if we were at war, this is somebody I would have gone crazy on. This is so stupid. How do you not think to understand that we have enough gear that's going to make the front of the car heavier, but the back is not going to catch for us to, so the best thing to do is for me to go all the way in and make a U-turn and go back up. And sure enough, that's what I had to do. And I had to take the blame, and like 100 people looking at me, producers there, the directors there, and everybody's looking at me, and I'm sitting here like, and what did the person do? Just walk away as if, nope, they didn't take responsibility. They just walked away. And I'm like, this is what I have to deal with. People who are inexperienced, but again, they have the connections to get these positions of telling people what to do simply without the experience. So it drove me crazy for a long time.
I bet.
Crazy.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of that has to do with, you know, what is your level of, what are your limits? You know, what kind of behavior are you going to be willing to put up with when you sign these documents to work for these specific corporations? You know, now you know, like you might have thought you wanted to do this a long time ago, but you know, you might have been proven wrong based on certain experiences and like people's like personalities, you know.
And this is something.
And pride.
And I hate to compare it to war. This is something in another place that could have got a lot of people hurt. First, we're bringing attention to ourselves. But we could have got a vehicle stuck in mud or in the
lives.
So now, and this person is just like, simply because the person wasn't even thinking logically, was not making the best decision for the company. But these are the people that I realize who do a lot of the rejecting when you go and apply for a job, you know?
Right,
and,
interesting.
One thing I noticed is that a lot of times, even men and women, I noticed that a lot with civilians. Like I'll go in for an interview and they'll feel away as if like I'm supposed to. I'm not shy enough. I'm not shrinking myself in their presence. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
And simply because I'm a confident person. This is the way we have to get it done. We're gonna have to work together. So a lot of times they mistake that for arrogance, and I get that from a lot of veterans too. They say, my job, I apply for this job, I'm coming here to tell you, I'm here to help you accomplish your goal of the company. That's what I'm here for. Because that's what you're hiring people for. You're putting people in a position to, same way we look at it. We're going to war, this is the mission, combat mission. What do we need? How many engineers do we need? How many drivers do we need? How many people to supply food that we need? I'm here to do my part to help you accomplish your goal. And a lot of times they don't get that, and I see that creates that's another story. I'll tell that another way. So okay, now you're back in your media. You're doing any media work now.
So, you know, like I said, I'm still looking for a job. So I've just been kind of working on my demo reel and trying to make sure that my website is updated. You know, I've been writing blogs. Basically just as like a critique on what I'm going through right now. So if you ever go to my website, like you'll see like virtual career fair tips for recent grads. Like this is like just what I do in my free time, just to show that like I'm actively looking, you know, for work, but I'm also, you know, making sure that I'm journaling and I'm reflecting, because I think also reflection is super important for veterans, especially right now.
In the military, not in the military, do you feel being a woman played any kind of role in anything that you're doing, good or bad? Like where you feel like, maybe if I were a woman, if I were not a woman, people would trust me more with this project, or maybe they trust me with this more because you teaching that they say, hey, this is if you were a man, maybe you probably wouldn't get that shot. Like I don't know. Tell
I mean, you know, as a woman, like, you know, there have been moments where, like, I couldn't lift a box that was 85 pounds. Like, hey, bro, can you help me? Yeah, sure. Like, that's all. That's it. As far as job performance, as far as, you know, personal accountability, as far as teamwork goes, I never had issues with people telling me anything because I'm a woman. Like, I've actually had more respect. You know, a lot of my leaders have been women. A lot of my leaders have been women. I've been fortunate to be surrounded by people in my life that actually, men in my life that haven't really, you know, for some reason started any sort of like conflict based on my, you know, gender. So.
Good.
Yeah.
And obviously we're talking about women, and do you want to talk about Vanessa?
I mean,
Gillen?
that was
You can. You don't have to. I mean, it's just now that we're on the topic, I kind of feel like if we overlook it? If that's okay, you don't have to.
Yeah, no,
if
we
you
can
don't
talk
want to.
about it. I mean,
How do you feel about her situation?
I think it kind of it's putting the Army in a spotlight now. The Army has a lot of explaining to do in terms of why this particular individual was asking for help and wasn't getting it. You know, she voiced her concerns, and obviously it wasn't working, you know, and her leadership wasn't helping her either. So, you know, how can we have people in these situations take, once again, personal accountability for their actions and look for ways to, you know, how can we help? What can we do to help? You know what I mean? It's not like who's to blame, you know, who's, you know, when are we ever going to figure this stuff out? That's not the questions we need to be asking. We need to be asking, how are we going to make this situation where we have a leader and a subordinate, you know, who obviously have issues, and how are we going to, you know, be able to protect both of them in case of anything?
So what about their leadership?
Their leadership should have been, you know, more involved. You know, when I was in the Navy, I had my senior chief, when I was teaching, like, he was the NCOIC of the entire school, like a Navy guy. You know, it could be an Army guy, it could be a Marine. And then they take turns, right? All the branches to be NCOIC. And my senior chief, he always went out of his way to come down and ask me how I'm doing in my classroom, like during lunch. He's just like, oh, what are you eating? Like, how you doing? Like, what are you working on? Like, everything good? Like, but you know, and he would always just like shake my hand like ridiculously hard, you know. But I think it was just a way for him to just show me that he's still there for me, even though he's leading this whole school. He's still there for like me as a sailor, and like I really respected that. So it's like I knew I can always go to him if, let's say, you know, because I was a second class E5. E5s don't really teach that much, but I was teaching. Like I was a full instructor, you know, just as much as that chief next to me was, or the E6. So if I had issues with them, I always knew like, oh, I can always go here, I can go there, you know. So I'm wondering, did this soldier know that maybe she had different avenues of help, you know, and if she didn't know that, why? You know, how can we make sure that our soldiers know that they have different avenues for help and different avenues for support that they might not realize are actually there, even though they don't physically see them every day? Because,
you know, right after that happened with Vanessa Gillen, a lot of other women came out. Where was it? Fort Hood, Texas? Fort Hood, Texas. A lot of women have come out from there and say like what they've gone through, what they're dealing with. And so what do you say they should do now? Like, if I know you touched on it before, but I want to be clear, like if a woman feels like she's being treated a certain way, what should she do? Should she go to her chain of command if they're not saying anything, request mass, go higher, or do they report it to the civilian force? Because at the end of the day, they're still citizens.
Okay, so active duty, military. When something like this happens, right away there's training, right? That's how we know. Okay, we're gonna have to go sit through this training, and you might not think it, you know, it affects you. We're just gonna sit through the training. It's gonna have to go beyond that, and they're going to have to find ways to have programs in place to make sure that, you know, that accountability is being taken and that there is a plan to make sure that all the soldiers know that they have other avenues of support, even if they're in areas that might not have a lot of people immediately surrounding them, like soldiers that are working with them. They need to know that they can go to the chaplain or they can go to the cafeteria and talk to the cooks. They need to know that really we're all on one team, and that if something isn't happening within a certain time frame, we need to stick to the SOP, right, our standard operating procedure, and see, like, all right, so I'm doing everything I'm told. So what did what did this my chief teach me on this day? He also said that we can always knock on his door. So, you know, we have to always pay attention to like the facts and what we should do and follow the regulation, but also this is going to go beyond that. Like, soldiers need to come in and be more
vocal, speak out,
and they need to be more open with each other.
I think another thing too can be like the backlash. Like, you don't want to, let's say let's say I work for you and you're doing something to me, but the person above you, you're above me, the person above you is friends with you. And I can't complain to that person because the person will come back to you. Then I'm afraid of the retaliation. Is it okay for me to step outside that chain of command now and just?
Well, one thing that's important is, okay, we're talking a lot about the victim. It's not the victim's fault.
Mm-hmm. Not at all. Not at all. I'm just looking for the avenue to not become the victim.
Exactly. It's just like, we have to think about how can we deal with this person who is...
Your foot for the table.
Oh, sorry. How can I think, we have to also focus not so much on the victim, but also on the person who is the predator. It's like, how can we, be effective bystanders and be able to tap into their everyday work life and just, make sure that the documentation that they're receiving is being handed to the next person and to the next person and to the next person. So it's like, there has to be a way to check on those things, and whether it be, in the Navy we have something called a midterm eval. So it's not your full-time eval where you get ranked based on your job performance. It's a midterm thing. It's like, well, 6 months is coming up.
How you been doing for
How have you been doing? What have you been working on? Is there anything we need to know about? And every Monday you go to work.
Inspections.
You wake up on a Monday morning. Your chief or your sergeant is going to ask you, how was your weekend? Do I need to know anything? Is there anything I need to know? Because we're going to find out.
And
the truth comes out.
Do you feel the fact that she was gone for so long, the chain of command, or the Army, period, did anything to help find the body and while it was gone for so long?
I don't know. I can't speak on that because I didn't really wasn't tracking it so hard. I was definitely paying attention to the story, but I don't know. I was like... It's crazy how long, it took.
At first, when I first heard about it, I was like, oh, they'll find her if anything happened. But again, I'm looking at it from the Marine Corps side where we've had Marines that we've lost here in the States and so on. And it's always something that happened, but we send a working party, a team out there to look for. So that's the first thing that came.
And they usually find them right away.
That's what came to mind at first. But when
it did take a while, right? It took a while to find her. What the hell?
Because I guess the chain of command told the media or told people she had gone AWOL or something.
Interesting.
So they were probably thinking she's still alive, but she just didn't want to be around the Army anymore. Well, thank you for that perspective on that. Can I ask you a couple more questions?
Absolutely.
Because we opened up with you saying how much you wanted to serve your country, and now we know a lot is going in our country, and people are taking a lot of athletes and not standing up for the national anthem. Is there something that bothers you?
No, it doesn't bother me. I think people have their freedom of speech. The system, unfortunately, is designed exactly the way it's supposed to work, and in order for a change to happen, we have to amplify the voices of those who aren't being heard, whether it be protesting, kneeling, however way you see that you need to stand up for something that you really believe in, and for a fact in your soul that other people are going to be able to live better lives based on your activism. Absolutely do it. I'm always going to be standing behind I'm always going to be standing behind those who feel they are oppressed. Like if you've experienced racism, I'm never going to tell you that you're wrong, because I'm not in your shoes. I'll never tell anybody also I know how you feel, because I don't, and I'm never going to be able to know how you feel. And I think we need to stop saying that to each other.
And how do you feel about people using veterans as like the forefront of their defense when people do have a problem against our country and decide to say, hey, I'm not standing up for the national anthem, I'm not standing up for the flag? First thing they say is, you're disrespecting the troops, you're disrespecting veterans. Is that something that holds, to be true with you? Or you find any truth in it? Do you feel disrespected?
Well, we do fight. Okay, so let's just think about taxpayer, right? We all pay taxes. Yeah. Okay, money goes into the military budget. We don't really know exactly how all the money gets spent. We know that there's budget cuts here and there in the military, but we also have to understand exactly, so as taxpayers, right? We have to show, the military has to show American taxpayers, where their money is going is being spent right. You know, that's why we have things like Fleet Week, and we have all these celebrations, parades, and stuff. You know, which we should have, and we should celebrate our troops. But I think sometimes, you know, it's not, you're not disrespecting the troops. You know what I mean? It's kind of deeper than that. I think a lot of the people who say that.
What's not disrespecting the troops?
I don't think kneeling is necessarily disrespecting the troops. It just really depends on how your definition of what it means to serve your country actually means.
But isn't that why we fight?
Yeah,
so
we
Americans
fight.
can have that luxury of being heard, saying, hey, this is the way I feel here, so I'm not standing up for this. And because the Constitution says, I don't have to if I feel this way.
I mean, you have your right to protest.
Yeah.
Bottom line, that's, you know, it's in there as well. So we have to just really, you know, just listen. You know, listen to why these individuals are kneeling. You know, they don't hate our country. They don't hate. There is no hate. It has a lot to do with just. That's the problem. There's too much empathy around real issues. We need to stop talking about feelings and look at the facts, look at the metrics. You know, why is the prison labor system part of our economy? That's a problem. And
it's interesting you said that, and I'm going to piggyback off of what you just said, that people who kneel don't hate our country. I agree with you, because people who hate our country don't kneel. They usually bomb us. They usually crash airplanes into our towers. They usually carry Confederate flags and Nazi flags on American soil. These are the people I feel hate Americans.
That's hate.
The people who can't get over the fact that we know many of our troops lost their lives on D-Day, and you come here and fly your Nazi flag. We know the Confederates were against the American people, but yet you fly the Confederate. These are the people I think hate America, not the people who kneel, who exercise their constitutional rights. I think those people love their country enough to stand up and say something about it and not become a traitor.
Right. I think we can all agree that Black Lives Matter and that all lives can't matter unless Black Lives Matter.
Excuse me, you just took it there.
I
was going to ask that later. You just drove me to that.
Sorry.
There you go. I like that.
But it's true. Like, you know, we can all agree that unfortunately racism still exists, but we have to, you know, learn what it means to actually flip the House of Representatives, and we have to know how to smartly fight this fight, because no one cares about your emotions or your feelings or whatever. Like, people are all over social media talking about feelings, and, you know, unfortunately, all of this like creative ways of looking, you don't have to be it's not creative. Like, these are issues based on facts, and the facts have been out there for decades. Unfortunately, some of the powers that be choose to ignore them.
I mean, for me, with Black Lives Matter, it's now I'm done fighting and arguing with people about it, because I see in every stage in American life, if we were to break it into stages, every time like Black people put up a hand, even when Black people were facing the worst form of cruelty, I'm gonna say, there were still people against it. You think, we talked about the Confederate flag. There was a time where Black people were fighting to get out of this, not be treated, not even Black people. One side was fighting to not have people in chains as Black people. You had people against it who had a problem with people saying, hey, these people are human. And then you get to Jim Crow. You had people who had issues with removing the Jim Crow laws, and then you get into the Black Code and so on, and then you get to segregation, where people had problems with American citizens being treated like American citizens. So now I don't even want to argue with people about Black Lives Matter, because I know you get it, I know you understand it. This is just the side of history you stand on. This is just the side of the fight that you stand on. You know that all lives matter, you just don't want to accept that Black Lives Matter. Me saying Black Lives Matter is forcing you to look at me and say, hey, this is what's happening to me, or you don't want to look at it. That's all it is to me.
Right, and you know, there's radical sides to each side, you know, and and like white people got the KKK and black people have whatever stereotype that they fall under. So it's just like a matter of like knowing how to get your like resources and information like from credible sources, and like knowing how to like really ask questions. Being able to ask questions is like one of the hardest skills you can develop, I think, in life. Like, and from my military experience, I learned like what's one of the most important things I learned was like, if this transition is going to be hard for me, is it going to be hard for me because that's what I'm telling myself, or is it going to be hard for me because of the climate of the world that I'm entering? So you have to really ask yourself and exhaust all means as to how you're going to really look at the outside world, and try to continue to be strong about it. Like even if you're leaving the military on a medical discharge, or if it was on not on such good terms, maybe this is a moment of reflection. How can I just do a little bit better and be able to continue to look forward waking up every day? Because we know it's not hard to wake up every day. Some of us are going through a daily struggle, So we really got to find a way to, reflect, and also really make sure that what you are saying and your resources are coming from are from credible sources. And not like always believing the hype. Just because everybody's posting on Instagram something, or just because every single news network seems to be on the same page, or whatever, we can't get too comfortable, and we can't ever be too comfortable. We have to also ask those questions, and that's what I think college is important for. You learn how to ask a question, and then you learn how to ask non-open-ended questions,
With me, what I feel a lot of times, if I'm having a conversation with women about the things that women go through, as a man, I don't think I know enough to even try to overpower. My goal is to listen and to understand, to see, and possibly ask, where can I be a form of help for you? My job is not to tell you, oh no, it's nonsense, women are not going through this. I'm not a woman, although I may live with women, and I don't go through what they go through every day. Well, there's nothing wrong.
Okay, so you can ask, and you can speak for women because you have women in your life, right?
But that's as far as I can go, though. I can't speak as if I am.
I think it's important that you mention that. You say, hey, look, based on the women in my life and the experiences that I've had with them, I've noticed this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. Therefore, that's why I think this. But you obviously can't just say that. Oh, you can't have like these such like very strong opinions on things and be because that's being biased and like minimizing other
that's exactly
oppressing
what my
others.
problem is with people who have an issue with Black Lives Matter. They'll quickly say, "Oh no, you're in America and it's 2020. You can do whatever you want." That's not true. That is not true. I lived the life of a black man in America. So to say, people often look, oh, you were in the military, you had this and that. What does that have to do with anything? Mm-hmm. That doesn't change. I don't think that's ever been that's ever shielded me from facing the things that black people altogether, collectively, face in America when we say Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. Same thing with LGBT plus communities. I can't speak for that community. All I can do is support my friends who come from that community and say, hey, what can I do to help?
Right.
I can't go and say, oh no, these people are not oppressed because they got these great jobs, they have this, they have that, but that may not be, that's not the only form of oppression. Being oppressed doesn't necessarily mean, oh, if I see you outside in the street, I'm gonna beat you up or you can't work here. These people may not be able to go into this bar because, oh no, we don't want your kind here, or they may not be able to get what's the latest thing that happened, and I'm gonna get off the subject a little bit.
It's cool.
With the gay marriage, you have a baker who says, I'm not going to make a cake for a gay marriage because I don't believe in that. That's what oppression is to me. And again, I'm not from that community, but I'm saying if I were from that community, this is what I would take as how come I don't get the same rights as everyone else? I mean, I'm allowed to love. That's okay, no?
Well, that's why it was like such a big deal for like LGBT discrimination to be ruled, as like basically against the law. You you can do that. It's actually the most recent bill that passed.
Yeah,
but this is only for government workers, though.
Yeah.
It's not for corporations, I don't think.
And the reason I brought that up, and then we'll wrap it up, it's because just recently the military, I think New York decided to, if you were in the military under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and you were removed or kicked out dishonorably, now they're reversing it.
I know, that's huge.
Exactly. And do you understand what that means for people from that community? A lot of people didn't get their GI Bill. A lot of people couldn't get their VA loan to buy a home simply because of their sexual orientation.
It made me so happy because, as a member of the LGBT community, right?
Oh, I had no clue.
Yeah, I mean, I live with my partner in Ridgewood.
See, I could have said the wrong thing, and you could have.
Yeah, I mean, I do hit a lot of diversity, checkoff boxes. I mean, I'm Hispanic.
See, I had no clue.
Yeah, Hispanic, member of the LGBT community, female, veteran, and so now
I feel like I gotta ask you more questions.
No, ask me more questions.
What does that mean for you? Do you have friends or people you know who didn't get their GI Bills because they were kicked out before that?
Oh man,
VA loans, and now it changes a whole family dynamic. It changes a lot.
It changes a lot. I don't personally know people. But I do know that a lot of those people exist, and I've heard tons of stories. Because 2 years after I joined the military, they had the Don't Ask, Don't Tell was repealed. Mm-hmm. So, and we were on deployment for that, and it was like huge, and like I just remember like, oh damn, like they didn't do that yet.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, and it's funny when some of these things come in the news. Like we're like, wow, like it really took that long.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, my grandma came out like years ago. I'm just kidding. That's not a true story, but it's just like, we hear stories of all these, fathers and mothers and grandparents who were gay and came out, but this was like 10 years ago, like, and we still have now these laws are getting passed, like,
and
damn.
This is one thing that that I feel about. That's why I feel so strongly about the military removing the Confederate flag from bases. Because to me, it's like, we're in 2020. Now you're having this conversation? You don't think it was abusive to have blacks working on your bases with this thing flown over our heads? You didn't think that was abusive? You didn't think, like, I'm a descendant of slaves, of enslaved Africans. Like, and you don't think that I feel a certain way looking at a flag that says, hey, you are less than a human being.
Yeah.
And you would just allowing people to parade that stuff on base all around me.
It just goes to show, like based on the current climate of like what's going on, the news, it's like, oh, well, maybe now we should pay attention to these demands that have been there for decades. Yeah. The demands have been there for a long time. It's just now, it's getting recorded, like Will Smith said. Racism has always been around. Now it's just on tape. Do
you think it's being done in a way and I have my own way of looking at these things, because I always feel like if ever America makes a decision, it's because the rest of the world is looking at her and she doesn't want to look like the bad guy. Because if we look at obviously segregation, is because they were fighting to become the superpower, and not long before that, 50 new countries in Africa became independent. This is my theory, my belief. Became independent, and America wanted to be, the USSR and the United States of America were competing. So now they're like, Africa, look, we're good to your blacks over here, separate but equal. So you need to be on our side so we can be stronger. And
right.
So the USSR doesn't become the number one. So do you feel like it's the same thing that's happening now? The whole thing with like the LGBT and now let's talk about racism. Now is a good time to talk about it. As you said, it was always there, always at the table. Why do you want to sign it now?
I know, it feels like almost like women's rights came at the same time as Black
all these
Lives
things
Matter
together.
And LGBT. It's just like they've always been there, and I mean, look at what's her name from Grace and Frankie?
I have no clue.
Oh man,
Grace and Frankie. Well,
no, what's her name? She was in the movie 9 to 5 with Dolly Parton. Damn it! What's her name? Anyways, she's a film director, and
I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about now.
Can we Google it?
No.
No?
We
Okay.
don't have phones.
It's cool. Judy Garland and her wife.
Yeah.
First of all, I didn't even know she was gay, but she made that sketch with Richard Pryor in the 60s. I'm the worst. My memory sucks.
No, it's all good. I mean, mine too.
They did a sketch together, and they were, she was playing a waitress. Anyways, Richard Pryor comes in. He plays like a homeless, like a drug addict or whatever. But they actually have a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And it opens up that conversation of like, racism and just like people who are struggling with drugs and like, biracial love. And it's just like all of these conversations. And for a long time, that video was banned.
Yeah,
like all the major corporations were like, we don't want to see this.
But now the major corporations
I'm watching it in college when I study film now,
yeah.
because guess what? It was part of a larger conversation that we're still having.
Yeah. In college, I made it my business to take an LGBT plus, or am I saying it right? LGBT plus Q or LGBTQ in film and cinema, like to understand their struggle. And I saw a lot of please don't kill me for this, a lot of similarities with black struggle. I know people are going to be like, oh no, I mean, gay people don't have to say they're gay, but black people, we can't hide that. But I understand that. I totally understand that. But I saw the struggle even in Hollywood.
Yeah.
With gay people, they would always get if you are a gay person or play the gay person on television, you will be the murderer, you'll be the thief, you'll always be the person with the disease and this and that. All of that just to push that negative propaganda. So I took a class on that just to learn about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. Now we have learned a lot, and we covered. What advice do you have for a little girl who wants to join the military now?
I would think, just keep doing what you're doing. Be curious and be open to learning, and don't ask questions that you're not ready to learn the answers to. Mm-hmm. If there's something you really want to do and in your heart and soul, and every day at the end of the day you go to sleep thinking about the same thing, that is what your purpose in life is. That's your passion. That's what you have to follow and be true to.
What would you tell a person, a veteran who is leaving the military now?
Start preparing your transition now.
Do you think the military does enough to prep you? Because I hear different things.
They do.
For the Marines, I don't think we do. And I'm a Marine. I'm a Marine to the Corps. Right. Like I love the Marine Corps, but I don't think the Marine Corps does enough to prep the veterans.
Yeah, I mean, look at fund. Let's just look at funding. You can see it you don't have. Doesn't matter your rank. Yeah. You'll know if your command has enough funding.
Yeah, Marine Corps,
you'll know.
We're broke in the Marine Corps. We get
nothing. Maybe that's something that you can do to help. There's something you do to help that. Like maybe there's a way to amplify that. But here's the thing too. It's a tricky conversation to have because every single month that a veteran transitions, something new happens in our economy. Yeah. The job climate changes, right? Certain companies stop hiring. Certain companies start to hire again. So you can't always you got to learn how to not put a blame on things. Also, you really got to know, am I doing everything that I can do based on what society is telling me?
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's out of your hand.
Sometimes it's out of your hand, but nowadays you really only need a phone. You only need a smartphone. That's all you need to really make a couple phone calls, send a couple emails, and just try.
I don't know if that's 100% true, because luckily I was blessed with a job a month after I got out the military, not even a month, to work and make decent money and this and that. But again, I wasn't working for civilians. So I think, in the civilian world, it's mostly who you know.
I guess
I'm going to be 100 with you.
I guess what I'm trying to say is we've come to a point where we have to expect the worst and hope for the best.
There you go. I'll take that. I'll take that.
That's how I have lived my life, like since joining the military, because like nothing has really gone according to plan.
Yeah, you just got
nothing ever really goes to plan. I'm learning that as I get older. I'm 27 now, and I'm learning that, I thought I would have had a full-time job right out of college. I thought that hiring managers would be like all over me, but no, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your situation. You have the same situation as everybody else. Even as a veteran, even when that's what creates another problem. That's how they make me feel.
That's what creates another problem. You get to hear, oh, a veteran or this and that. You're like, yo, I've checked all the boxes. I've done everything that you asked me to do. Serve my country, work hard, got a college degree, but you're like, okay. I mean,
I know. It's
get in here with everybody
it's like,
else.
oh, well, just because you're going through what you believe to be a traumatic experience just makes my traumatic experience equal to yours or something.
And that's why I mean, do not praise these veterans. Do not use veterans for as a marketing tool. Do not sit there and be like, oh, we support the troops, so we'll do this for the troops, because you do not. Honestly, I've worked with almost every veteran group there is to work with in New York City with these companies. Don't just understand that we just regular people hire us like you. Do not put it out there as if, oh, because you're a veteran, well, hire you, or well, it doesn't work that way.
Damn,
with a Harvard degree, I would get a job faster than I would get with a Marine Corps graduation, anything in it. So don't tell me that. You do not. Veterans who get these things, and I was talking to a veteran professional about this. A lot of times these big companies would look at a veteran with a Harvard degree and years of experience and be like, oh, we got a veteran. No, we don't. He would have gotten that job without being a veteran. Just that Harvard degree. Don't do that. Don't have these veterans thinking that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So there needs to be some sort of internal conversations to be had, and maybe a veteran needs to be sitting at the table. That's the problem.
Exactly, and that's one thing I also realized. In a lot of these companies, luckily, I was able to get in. However, I was able to get in to sit around to meet with these people. A lot of them don't even know what they think a veteran, or you carry a gun and you go overseas. They don't even know your job. They don't even know what you bring to the table. But these are the people making the decision. But the marketing department back there is pushing, oh, we support troops, we support veterans. How far are you, or how many steps are you taking to get all the way to that veteran? How far are you going? Are you just saying this at one end, but you're not communicating with your gatekeepers?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you have these people.
Interesting. Yeah, and that's one thing I've been exposed to during my job searching process is it's like I feel like I'm always asking the same question. Are they going to get me a job?
Who?
This whatever nonprofit or whatever veteran group, veteran group, but that's the thing. You can't go in asking those questions like, oh, because you're not entitled. I understand that, but it's like
I totally get it. I'm not entitled, but do not make it sound like because I'm
don't make it sound
I'm
like
entitled. Veronica, I want to thank you so much for coming. I learned a lot about you, and I learned you were doing a lot of great things, and you're paving the way, obviously, for your future. And I want to thank you for coming by. Again, this is Vet Talk with Hill. I want to thank you for watching, and as you know, you can always write a question if you have anything that you want me to ask a veteran. And if there's something we didn't cover that you want to know, please ask, and follow us on social media. We're on Instagram and obviously on YouTube. And thank you so much for watching.